Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup number 142 for North America. Game number 1 in this best-of-5 series is played on the map Moondance, and spawning right here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Solar. His opponent, another very popular North American, I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, play right here with the blue Protoss pieces. We're looking at MaxPax's main Nexus. Alrighty. So Denmark going up against South Korea. In case you're unfamiliar, the way that these tournaments work is that basically the games have to be played on the North American server, but anyone from anywhere in the world can sign up. So because of that, it can sometimes be a bit of a disaster for one player. However, Solar versus MaxPax, I mean, shouldn't be that big of a deal. These players are probably playing on either NA Central or NA West, and because of that, maybe they're alternating actually in between maps, but because of that, they should have, yeah, not quite the ping advantage, right? Maybe if you're located in Canada or something, the game is gonna be a little bit in your favor, especially in one of the quicker matchups. Obviously, ping definitely plays a role in Zerg versus Zerg, and Zerg versus Terran, and Zerg for all of those other matchups too, but yeah, in Zerg versus Protoss, I don't think it's as critical. Obviously, there are a couple of moments, especially if Zerg decides to go for, like, Baneling drops or... Yeah, I guess Baneling play in general, maybe some disruptor hits here and there where it can come into effect, but I don't think it's gonna affect this matchup as much as some of the others. Anyhow, standard opener so far. We've got ourselves a Nexus right around 20 supply, Baneling on the low ground, double building wall off here, and it's gonna be that Stargate inside of the main base for MaxPax. Not surprising at all. This is, of course, the standard right now in this particular matchup, and really has been for years and years. Even though the follow-up is quite a bit different, the Stargate units are really good when it comes to getting rid of Zerglings that might try to kill your third Nexus. So one change that we have seen over the years is the speed at which Protoss players take that third Nexus. These days, yeah, it's become the norm to take it right around like 350 or so, depending on the size of the map and obviously exactly where you decide to take it, but it's not uncommon at all to see an Oracle getting chrono boosted out and then a probe moving out pretty much immediately. Now, you'd imagine that a lot of Zerglings could be made and just, you know, force that third Nexus to be cancelled, but if Zerg actually commits to making a ton of Zerglings, sure, maybe they can get the cancel on the third Nexus, but they will actually take a pretty significant economical hit in the meantime as well. Anyhow, MaxPax coming across the map with 2 Adepts after forcing out the third hatchery first. Link speed is not done just yet, so maybe these units can actually get something done. If they get picked off or pretty much freed out, that is a bit of a disaster. Okay, at least he gets some Zerglings for his troubles. That's something. Yeah. As soon as link speed is done, these sort of attacks are going to be quite difficult to pull off. Okay, so MaxPax actually not going for a third Nexus just yet. Instead decides to double up the pylon right there in the natural. He's going to take the Nexus in the back, okay. Surprisingly, not as common as you'd imagine. So this is a pretty easy to acquire base. In the meantime, Oracle, by the way, getting 4 kills. That's really nice. But yeah, even though this base is wide open and pretty easy to acquire, we don't actually see it all too often. And maybe that's also the reason why that Oracle just got some damage done. It's pretty common to keep the Oracle around the location where you normally plant the third base, so either over here or right over there, and because of that, Solar maybe didn't expect it to show up on the other side of the map just yet, because he was also actually attacking with Zerglings, probably in the hopes that he could find a third Nexus. Anyhow, the problem with that base, of course, in the bottom right-hand corner, no Spore Crawler over here, a little bit greedy. Okay, fantastic start right here for MaxPax. Really good. The problem, of course, for this base, though, is that it's only 6 mineral fields compared to the conventional 8, and then a single gas geyser rather than a conventional 2. The gas, in particular, can be quite annoying, but Protoss players these days like to go for that Twilight Council and then the Forge follow-up. Where's the Forge? Ah, it's right over there. Anyways, they like to go for that follow-up into Blink Stalkers and a bunch of charge slots and all that, and you don't really need that much gas for it, so... Yeah, it's not the... I guess the mineral fields are quite annoying, right? I mean, it does add up pretty quickly, but you don't need as many probes to saturate it either, so... Anyways, not the end of the world. Alright, so good start so far here for MaxPax. Getting 9 kills is basically best case scenario, especially when it comes to not losing those Adepts. Or sorry, those Oracles. He did lose 1 Adept, I suppose, but... Yeah, that is pretty manageable, especially with the Zergling kills that he got for that as well. Alright. Let's see. Can those Oracles get further damage in as well? If you can get 2 digits, yeah. That is fantastic. Don't lose the oracles, though. Okay. 2 digits worth of drones is the Protoss dream at this level. Yeah. Solar's going to be forced to remake those workers, and he's actually decided to go for a pretty quick 4th hatchery, too. +1 melee coming up. Did he skip the Roach Warren? I believe that he has so far. That lair is also quite a bit later than we normally see it, and okay, he decides to go straight into the Baneling nest. So Solar, in order to try and catch up back into this game, he's decided to skip the Roach tech. And I think he's probably going to go straight into Hydroling Bane. I've seen this a bunch of times over the last couple of months. This is, however, a little bit risky, because the problem you run into is, say, for example, this would not be a Blink Stalker follow-up. Say it would be like a, I don't know, a Zealot-based all-in or some sort of, I don't know, Archon-based push, right? Like, a lot of those attacks absolutely shut down Zergling play. And if you decide to, yeah, go straight into the Baneling nest, maybe you'd be okay against Zealot all-ins if you get a really lucky hit. But especially when Archons are added into the mix, it's really difficult to get a good follow-up. Anyhow, Solar's going to be okay in this match, and because of that, I think he should be able to crawl his way back into the game as well. Maybe not in as comfortable a spot as he'd like to be in, but yeah, it's indeed going to be that Hydralisk Den pretty quickly. So Hydroling Bane is going to be the unit composition here for the foreseeable future from our Zerg. That very quick +1 melee here is actually going to be, well, very quick. It's not super quick, but pretty quick. +1 melee here is certainly going to be nice as well, so he's really not in that bad of a spot anymore after that early game that we just saw. Okay. MaxPax using those oracles as well to his advantage. One Stalker gets sniped, but a couple of creep tumors over here as well. The +2 melee, of course, is the big one, right? So one of the reasons why you want to get +1 melee early is so you can get +2 a little bit quicker too. One of the main advantages of that is that it's going to take only a single Baneling to kill a probe. So, yeah, right now it's going to take 2 of those Baneling hits to kill a worker, but if you can get like a couple of Banelings into your opponent's mineral line with +2 melee, that's fantastic. Obviously, you can drop them as well with Overlords and all that, so definitely some potential there. Probably not something that Solar is going to do in this game, because I don't think he's feeling all too comfortable here so far, but yeah, certainly an option that he can go for if he wants to a little bit later on into this match. All right, it's going to be Storm right now together with Charge, and I think that combination is fantastic. Very, very quick 5th Nexus as well now coming up for MaxPax. He's probably looking at this. He's like, okay, if my opponent is playing Hydroling Bane, he needs at least like 80 workers. So if he's still making drones at this point, it's unlikely that he's going to be attacking me, so I should be okay. That being said, there's already a large group of Zerglings out. No cancel on that, so that's 400 minerals down the drain. Stasis Ward here trying to grab those Zerglings on the retreat, but Solar a little bit too good. They're being set up everywhere. Yep. Another nice detonation. And now suddenly, though, okay, Solar has a large army. He's going for 19 more Banelings. So we're going up to roughly, well, I'm not even going to do math, but we're going up to a lot of Banelings is what I'm saying. And that is going to be pretty scary. Now, Storm is done. So with good Storms, I would like to maybe see a Sentry or two. Anyways, with good Storms, there certainly is potential here for the Protoss player to hold on. But at this point, Solar is maxed out. He's going to go up to a ton of Banelings here. Okay. MaxPax trying to get a wall off completed before this attack happens, but he's going to be a little bit too late. Charge is also not finished yet, so let's see how good those Storms are going to be. +2 melee also not finished yet for the Zerg. Not the greatest defense here so far, but this attack is also a little bit disjointed with that +2 melee that we just discussed, so it finishes up basically after all of the Banelings detonate. Yeah, I don't really like that all too much. This should be very manageable here for MaxPax at this point. Yeah, whenever we see Zerg players going for an attack like that, they really need to just crush that Protoss army. And believe it or not, attacking right before all of your upgrades finish is not advised. Yeah, maybe he saw an opportunity and he's like, you know what, this is the time to go right now. But I think he probably should have waited just a tad bit longer. Maybe he was hoping he was going to be able to engage before the High Templar were going to finish up Storm or something like that. But that was not quite the trait that you're looking for. Now, this is a unit composition that we used to see from Zerg players back in the day. However, back in the day, it was played against the Protoss that had like 70 workers, maybe 75. MaxPax now is economically speaking ahead. So this is a This is not a cost-efficient unit composition for the Zerg at all. Very expensive set of units that he's throwing away, so he needs to win with these engagements. Okay, now that was a whole lot better than what we saw so far. Yeah, +2 melee definitely making a big difference on those Banes, but still not entirely convinced that it's enough. So in the meantime, by the way, a bunch of drones are being killed here by Zealot counterattacks. And as long as MaxPax holds on and doesn't lose too much economy, he's gonna be A-okay. And look at this. This is what you want to see as a Protoss. Zerg just threw away 2 armies in the hopes of getting an economical advantage, but you're the one counterattacking with Zealots that is actually now, economically speaking, ahead. It's very easy to accidentally have a bunch of Banes roll into your natural, or any of these bases that are behind that wall off. Maybe over here on the right side as well, but MaxPax managed to hold on. He's not out of the water just yet, but I like this position for him quite a bit, although... Okay, I guess he lost the Cybercore, so he hasn't warped in a while. Banelings are still hunting. Hello. Okay, good warping over there. Oh! Okay, that made me turn into Goofy there for a moment. Little bit dangerous, but 9 probes, I think, is okay-ish. I think what he wanted to do there is wait until the Cybercore was done so he could warp in Stalkers again. Because he was banking quite a bit of money, and he still is banking quite a bit of money. Okay. Additional Banelings. It's just gonna be wave after wave after wave of Banelings here for Solar. They're bound to hit something at some point, right? Okay, here we go again. High Templar. Don't storm your own probes. Not ideal. It does do friendly fire, of course. Okay, those oracles from the early game. Ooh, helping out as well. That was dangerous, but actually working out okay there in the end. Well, I say that. Even though these fights have not been horrible, MaxPax has lost quite a bit of probes, or quite a few probes here, over these last 2 engagements that we've seen. I'm pretty sure that Solar is just gonna rinse and repeat. A little bit of a dance party right there for that one Hydralisk. Yeah, he does not plan to tech up or anything along those lines. Archon count is looking pretty good right now, and I like that a lot, yeah. 2 more Archons coming in from the right. 5 Archons in total is fantastic here. So Archons can take like 20 Baneling hits each. It kind of depends on upgrades, and I really like this decision too. MaxPax has recognized, okay, this is indeed going to be rinse and repeat, so if I can buff up my Ultralisks, or sorry, my Archons a little bit more. I think Archons are quite a bit better than Ultras. Anyways, that is going to be a really good trade. Once again, Solid Storms over there as well. Archons, okay, do eventually blow up, just barely before they get back to the safety of that shield battery. Overcharge was actually not available. Another Zealot counterattack, though. Getting some work in. Okay. Not a great trade, but buying some time here for MaxPax. Yeah, one advantage of having so many Nexi, though, is that it only takes a couple of production cycles to get up to a decent probe count once again. Ooh. Okay, he's going very deep onto the creep. I mean, to be fair, this is not really that great of a Zerg force to deal with Mass Archon. 7 Archons at this point really don't have a counter. Like, you can try and blow it up, don't get me wrong, but you need a lot. Like, you need to finish them off. You can't just, like, go in with a couple of Banelings and then back off and then go in with a couple more Banelings. That's not gonna work. MaxPax knows it very well. He's doing an excellent job splitting up his units as well. GG is cold. And despite all the aggression, MaxPax wins game number 1. Alright. Our next map is Cosmic Sapphire. I decided to fast forward through the first couple minutes of this game just because, well, I think the majority of the people watching this video have probably already seen the early game of Zerg versus Protoss 100, if not 1,000 times. I myself have definitely watched at least 1,000 early games EVPs. Basically what happened, right? Believe it or not. Solar is going a triple hatch opener. He was forced to take his 3rd base before the natural because of that early game probe scout. And MaxPax decided to go low ground Nexus, wall off at the front, and then a Stargate. And now he's chrono boosting out an Oracle. There you go. Nothing all too surprising. I mean, I could turn it into the Loco podcast. We would just have to have subjects to discuss. I could just, well, I mean, I can tell you about my day. Maybe I need some sort of, you know those lists of questions you can find for like first dates and all that. Maybe maybe I need to print those out whenever I'm casting an early games EVP. We can discuss one of the questions. That Oracle, though, just flew by the probe. Yeah. Or by the Zerglings, rather. And then, you know, the probe died. So that's a little bit annoying. Anyhow, you can really see, though, the timing at which this third Nexus was at the very least attempted. MaxPax is going to take it at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And that is him getting delayed a little bit. It's kind of funny. Especially if you compare it to what we used to see back in the day. 5 minutes was quite normal. And, well, exponentially speaking, that one really wants to die. Anyways, exponentially speaking, it really does make a difference. Wow. Very brave little drone. Okay, it does get sent back to, or it does get sent back right now towards mining. Anyhow, Twilight Council here for MaxPax. No Forge. Interesting. Let's see. 2 Oracles. Going into the natural, but good denial once again by Solar. So this is what you want to see. You really don't want to lose a lot of drones here in the early game. Third Oracle also joining in. With good Queen positioning and a Spore Crawler or 2. You can definitely find yourself in a pretty nice position. +1 melee here once again started pretty early. Ooh, very deep dive over here on that one Oracle. Miscontrol as well. That one gets popped. Okay, 3 drones for 1 Oracle. Not quite ideal. Couple of Zerglings did try denying this over here. Obviously, by the way, the reason why we do see fast third Nexi these days is not just because of the Stargate openers, although, you know, they're definitely a lot more refined. But also shield batteries make this much easier, and then, of course, building positioning. It seems so logical right now, but this is not actually the way that we saw structures positioned back in the day. But this Adept over here can, yeah, hold the door against quite a few Zerglings and, well, most importantly, buy a lot of time for those Oracles to come back home. Okay, this is a little bit better. Yeah, that's certainly a little bit better. Okay, 7 drones here in total. But at the cost of it's not ideal. Once again, by the way, Solar is skipping the Roach Warren. Maybe the man just hates Roach Warrens right now. Maybe Roaches altogether. I've seen Solar play a ton of Roaches back in the day, but once again, cutting a pretty big corner. So it's a rather quick Evo Chamber into a rather late lair. This one is faster than in the previous game, but I think that's mostly because of the timing of these drone kills that he had. And he probably tried to remake those. In the meantime, okay, hold up. MaxPax is also playing a very greedy game. Solar just barely not getting that scout in. Another Oracle ends up going down, but after going Twilight Council, he decided to go double Forge. So he's going double upgrades, while also rushing out a gold base in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, I think that Solar was just about to check that position, but he just barely missed that probe transfer in that direction. Okay, +1 melee finishing up very soon, though. That's going to make these Zerglings quite a bit scarier. So if he knew about the base in the bottom left, I'm pretty sure he would just send units on over in that direction right away. Yeah, okay, he found out right now. Is there enough here for MaxPax to hold on? One of the problems you run into, though, with this sort of opener, too, is that, heck, yeah, you can put all of your units over here and defend this, but what about just a bunch of Banelings rolling from right there, over there, or like, you know, a bunch of them into the natural, or Zergling run by into the main base? MaxPax taking a greedy gold base in the bottom left, but, yeah, I like it, but I don't know if it's the wisest choice, if that makes any sense. This also means that Solar can do whatever he likes in the top right, because there's absolutely no way that MaxPax is going to send anything other than, like, maybe 4 Zealots in that spot, so... For now, at the very least, Solar gets to do whatever he likes. I guess this does put the ball in Solar's court, because he needs to get something done. He can't really allow that base in the bottom left. Okay, good control right there by MaxPax, blinking away as he loses shields. Obviously, those shields will regenerate pretty quickly. It's once again, though, Hydraling Bane going up against Mass Gateway unit right here for MaxPax. Even the Overlords matter. Okay, once again, blinking back the weakened Stalkers. Is there enough DPS right here for Solar to actually just bite his way through these Stalkers? Yeah, I think there is. So this is why the early game harassment is big, right? Like, if there would have been another couple Oracles here, and if maybe MaxPax would have gotten the same amount of drone kills as he did in the previous game, this army that we saw just now here from Solar would not have been... It wouldn't have been able to deal nearly as much damage. So that's why that early game harassment is huge. Like, those fights really are, like, 2 Hydras more or less, it makes a massive difference. Okay, a couple Zealots get sniped for free as well. Despite all of this, though, we do have ourselves the golden base mining. Once again, a ton of Banelings coming up here for Solar. Okay. Oh no, don't do it. Gents, stop! In the meantime, bunch of Zealots committing Sudoku. You hate to see it. Anyways, in the meantime, the Banelings are rolling by. So this is what I was talking about, right? This is a scary position, especially if you're also under threat in the meantime in the bottom left. Okay. These will be denied, but they're probably gonna come back for more. Or maybe other Banelings will come back for more a little bit later. Yeah, so Solar's basically just spending all of his gas right now on as many Banelings as he can possibly afford. Okay, so I was just talking about it. They already came back. Okay. Still, 14 probes. I think that's enough. The Zealots over here are gonna get denied again. But these definitely got some good value in. Yeah, very similar to game 1. But this time around, MaxPax has like 20-something workers less. And that adds up very quickly. There's even a high-yield gas over here, actually, that Solar might also be able to acquire. Not a bad choice. One thing, though, that our Protoss does have going for him here is these double upgrades. And these upgrades really do make the Protoss units quite a bit better. Maybe that's also the reason why he had less army, though. So it's, you know, it's a trade-off you make. I don't know if I like going for a rushed gold base while simultaneously going double upgrades. It might be a little bit too much of a good thing. Yeah, here comes the Zerg pain train. MaxPax is trying, but Hydras are surprisingly good against these sort of armies. And obviously one follow-up here that's always an option for Solar too is Lurkers. Imagine him going into Lurkers right now. Like, there's really not much that our Protoss has to go against that. Now, Robo Facility is finishing up, so MaxPax may be thinking of the same thing as well, but yeah, even though Solar doesn't seem to be intent on making that decision. Okay, well. MaxPax knows it's a real option, and he realizes there's no way I'm going to be able to play 3 base versus, like, 6 base Zerg. Alright. Our next map is Data C. A little bit of a darker map, right? As far as colors go. I've got the biggest first world caster complaint, okay? So, one thing I've found with the current map pool in StarCraft 2 is that pretty much all the most epic games get played on the map Data C right now. Pretty much all the best games of StarCraft 2 in this season have all been played on Data C. However, Data C, right, and this is the problem, is the darkest map in the current map pool, and because of that, it doesn't allow me to create the most beautiful thumbnails. Ah, man. YouTuber life is hard. Why couldn't it be Cosmic Sapphire or any of these other maps that are way brighter? Like, generally speaking, the bright colors, they do really well on the YouTube thumbnails. I know. Life's hard, okay? Anyways. I'm actually very happy with the current map pool in SC2. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a new one as well, but yeah, whenever there's like a new map pool announced, everyone in the StarCraft community is like, okay, don't know if this is a good idea. Because obviously we know we're going to be playing on these maps for quite a while, and while it's exciting to see the new maps coming out and, you know, seeing the pro players adapt their strategies and all that, it's always a bit of a gamble too, because you never really know exactly how good those maps are going to be. Obviously they're well tested, and over the years, map makers know exactly what needs to be made, but it's always, you know, you never know if there's like 1 or 2 maps that are completely and utterly broken. And if there's 2 maps that are broken, it's going to be quite tricky to play a certain series. Anyway, it's an Oracle opener. Zerg is going for a pretty fast Evo chamber. I know. Crazy stuff. Alright. Oracle in the meantime. In the natural, being annoying. Scouting out queens. Seeing the Evo chamber right now as well, because Brenda and Kerrigan just... Or Kerrigan? I guess Kerrigan is a queen. Yeah, sure. Yes, queen. Anyway, I meant Brenda and it doesn't matter. Okay, Kerrigan, Karen. Is Kerrigan just the 2022 edition of Karen? I've never considered that. Like, what I'm saying is, in 20 years, are the Kerrigans of the world going to be the Karens of the current... Anyway. Good. A little bit of harassment. Love seeing that. There's the Baneling nest. When did he go for a lair in the last game? I think he went for a lair. He probably goes for like a lair at like 5 minutes and like 10-ish seconds. Something along those lines. Anyways, identical build here so far for MaxPax. Although he does decide to go for a faster robo facility. Okay, actually, Solar's making a lot of links. 20 Zerglings at this point is a lot. Yeah, he's adding on more. Okay. Maybe Solar has spotted a bit of weakness here in the strategy that MaxPax has been playing. Because MaxPax is certainly not doing a creative build here. He's playing as stock standard as possible. Yeah, it's just mass Zergling production right now. So Solar coming out right now with a Link Flood. Maybe he wants to go for a +1 melee timing attack, but this upgrade is still a while away. Okay. So this is what we saw previously as well, right? Just one unit in the wall off and no shield battery or anything like that behind it. So this is a corner that MaxPax is cutting. MaxPax right now not doing a whole lot of scouting either. He has 2 Orc. Okay, now we must notice that something's not quite right because a lot of Zerglings are running in this direction. Roachborn right now on the back of it as well for Solar, who still has not gone for a lair. Instead, he just wants to win the game right here, right now. And these units are in a lot of trouble. Those probes are super dead. Is there enough for the Zerg to just go through this? +1 melee just finished up, so that makes these Lings and Banes just a whole lot more terrifying. And that's 31 workers going down, and that's not the end of it. Solar still harassing wherever he can. And I think he may have very well found a chink in the armor here of MaxPax. And he decides to push through it. Yeah, this is the problem if you play the same build over and over and over again. Once the top level players, like Solar, figure out where your weakness is, they will be able to abuse it. Okay, so once again, I was cruising through the first couple minutes of this game, or at the very least I was planning to cruise through the first couple minutes. But MaxPax decides to mix it up. And I think this is really important, although I really don't know if this is what I like to see. So, either Protoss players wall off over here, or they wall off over here. But this time around, MaxPax is not walling off? I don't think that's a very good idea, is it? Anyways, at least he's making changes. So, I think MaxPax is, yeah, definitely one of the best Protoss versus Zerg players in the world right now, but he's certainly more predictable than the player I would probably consider to be the best Protoss versus Zerg player. And that would be Hero. So Hero, whenever he plays PvZ, he plays a very similar build every time. So he does the same approach that MaxPax does. But if you pay very close attention to his strategy, he will mix things up ever so slightly. Sometimes 2 Oracles, 3 Oracles, 4 Oracles, 5 Oracles, for example. He'll play some tricks with the early game units as well. So sometimes he'll go for a couple Stalkers, Zealots, Adepts. And because of that, you're always guessing, and you're always scouting, and you're always trying to make sure that you know what you're playing against. But MaxPax, yeah, maybe a little bit too rigid in these first couple games of this series so far, and Solar certainly had his number. Making a lot of links once again. This is Solar scouting, though, that there's no wall off at the front. So Solar not hesitating. He's just making Zerglings. Okay, very fast Baneling nest as well. 2 drones in gas. This is Solar going for another Baneling bust. I know this because I've played this exact Baneling bust many times myself. It's difficult for Protoss to scout this. Okay, he should notice now the larva. Those larvae should not be on idle. But obviously it's hard to say because he's also, yeah, being harassed at home. There should not be a bunch of larvae just sitting around at this stage of a match. Okay, does he see the Baneling's nest? He needs to know. Oh, it's right over there, actually. He does not see it. Zerglings in the meantime have run around, and I think that is the end of the scouting here. One Adept gets picked off as well. Okay, he is going to complete the wall, but I've got a feeling that these Zerglings that are currently out on the map are mostly unscouted. Like, MaxPax knows there's a couple units out, but not quite the exact number. It's going to be really hard for him to scout right now as a follow-up as well, because he doesn't have an Oracle. Like, he decided to mix up his build order. Now it's a quick Twilight Council at the front. He's mixing up the build, but maybe a little bit too much. Oh, no, 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 no. He just canceled the pylon that was doing a full wall in. No shield battery once again. That Adept also not warped in. Oh, at the perfect location. And this is turning into a bit of a disaster. Is there enough right now for the Protoss player from Denmark to actually hold this Zergling flood? A good old Baneling bust. Yeah, you know your build order is vulnerable when you lose to the most basic of all-ins. This is what we saw when StarCraft 2 first came out back in 2010. This is a horrible position right now for MaxPax. And obviously the margin for error here was tiny, right? Maybe if that Adept was warped in just ever so slightly in a better position, or maybe if the units he was using went a little bit deeper into the base and he would have actually spotted the Baneling nest and all that, this game would have looked very different. But with the way that it went down, it is Solar who obtains the victory. And because of that, he ends up winning the ESL Open Cup number 142 for North America.